all over my Twitter feed. It was on my phone when we talked to Tim Kirkchin the other day, when Joe Shasky texted us. I see all of you. It's not all of you, but it's a lot of you. It's all over my Twitter feed. It's at least one other host at this station. Farhan has got to go. This performance means it's Farhan time. Now, you have said non-starter. He's not going anywhere.
No, I don't believe he is. The seat is not hot. He's actually not even in a seat. He's in a hammock.
He's probably on the plane right now.
Did he make the trip?
I would imagine he made the trip. Maybe he's driving back after that flight on the way there.
Seriously.
We asked Tim Kirkchin, ESPN, just a couple of days ago, how hot's the seat?
If you're asking me, is it really hot? I would say no. Farhan has been an excellent executive for a long time, but this is a frustrated fan base, and I understand why. And you can't look in this division without being exceptionally worried that the Padres just picked up a 333 hitter over the last 3 seasons. The Dodgers are really, really good, and they're only going to get better. Walker Buehler comes back tonight. So when you look at the job the front office has done with the Giants, obviously the job has not been done since the 107-win season, and this is where Farhan and his group has got to figure this out. And but I don't think he's on a hot seat at this point, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, I agree, but listen to that answer again. Like, he's not in a hammock, bud. I really don't think. Sorry to call you bud. It just kind of came out.
You can let it fly, Chief.
Anyway, Captain.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's not hot, but it's warm, whether any of us think it should be or not.
Some people think it should be very hot.
Some people think it should be gone.
Right.
But, it's definitely warm, and here's why. It's not, I keep stressing this, it's not the standings. I don't think ownership is freaking out on May 9th about the standings. Ownership is freaking out because the brand of baseball has driven their fan base away, and what they did this offseason was supposed to completely change the whole tone of the organization. Kapler out, Melvin in. Someone who's not touchy-feely out, someone who is touchy-feely in. Former Giant. Who are we putting at third base? Former Giant. Who are we putting as hitting coach? Former Giant. Do you guys not see what was going on here? This wasn't just let's get wins.
Right.
This was let's reconnect with our fan base. And expectations, whether you all bought it or not, were high. Listen to Dave Fleming on the roast. This is right after Blake Snell got signed.
Forget this talk about the wild card only. Forget that. Go take a shot at the big boys.
Ooh.
I don't want to hear this. Yeah, they can sneak in, or that's BS, man. The attitude of this franchise should always be to take down that team, and that's what the rivalry means. I don't care who they sign. I don't care how much money they paid. You line up those two teams on the field next to one another, and I dare you to tell me that they're a whole lot better than the Giants are. I don't believe that. The Giants can go toe-to-toe with that team. They can.
Dave said that on March 19th. I nodded my head. The starting rotation was, I thought, better than what the Dodgers' starting rotation was. No one's going to argue lineup like, hello, we're not stupid. But it's also baseball. It's quirky. It's different. I absolutely thought the Giants could be a good team, and I sat there and listened to that. I clapped my hands, and I said, let's do this. I can't wait for the season to start. It is May 9th. They're already 9 games out.
Right. And, in fact, you can't go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, and you tried to go toe-to-toe with them, and you got cuffed around. You got swept, and now LA's coming to town for 3 games starting on Monday, and lots of luck for a team that right now your rotation is not as good as it should be or will be when you get everyone back. And, I don't think that Farhan's going to be the fall guy. You look at a guy who just got an extension, and he's aligned, but he's aligned with Bob Melvin.
Right.
It's 3 years. It's this year and 2 more. So you made the big change last year. If you thought you were going to make the big change, I think Farhan would have been out last year, but instead you extended him. So you gave him 2 years on top of this year which aligns with the manager. I just don't think that this ownership group would look at what Farhan has done or not done and say, yep, you're to blame. And one piece, attendance is up. People are showing up more than they did last year. I know it's still a small sample.
Yeah, how
They're
many
up by
home
about
games?
1,400 fans, 4% increase.
How many games have there been?
Been about, 10 at home?
Yeah.
Roughly, maybe a little bit more.
I would just look.
Attendance up. Sincerely, Farhan.
Don't be taking our taglines for
I
other
just
things.
borrowed
and
it.
giving them
There's
to
one
Farhan.
time.
I'll remind you
Go ahead, remind me.
that right as our show started, Frank Vogel of the Phoenix Suns was fired. You know how long his contract went for?
Like going forward? I don't know.
4 more years.
Well, are we talking about the Phoenix Suns again?
4 more years.
Rank the 5 worst franchises in professional sports,
Well, but
and Phoenix is among
that's not
the
my point.
candidates. That is the point.
No, my point is not that.
You're not that, Giants.
Nobody's saying that. My point is you can say Farhan is signed for 2 more years all you want, and that does not mean that they have to keep him.
Of course, they don't have to do anything, but
and believe you me, if we get to August and this fan base is turned off, think about what's going on now. You know this. You are super smart. Think about this from a business perspective. Forget all of our opinions about who's batting third, okay? Look at this from a business perspective. Mission Rock, about to roll. The A's, leaving.
maybe.
The Giants cannot afford to continue to push their fans away. Every move they made from the moment that last season ended was about reconnecting with fans. Let's get a bunch of former Giants and make them the coaching staff. Let's spend a truckload of money. Let's get some people they've heard of, middle of the order, starting pitcher. Some of this stuff didn't feel like Farhan type stuff, did it? It didn't. The analytics might tell you that a Chapman and a Soler, that might be the smartest thing. But they're like, dude, we got to fill this ballpark. And here you are. It's May 9th. You are 17-22.
Yep.
You are 9 games out. You can't hit. You don't hit home runs. You're not exciting. And Farhan is in the Chronicle going, this is hugely disappointing. He's not saying that publicly unless he's got a reason to say it.
Well, he knows it's hugely disappointing because the guys that have been brought in aren't getting it done. And the guys who were here before, for the most part, aren't getting it done. And you're 17-22, and your record against teams that are above 500 is atrocious. So you're getting fat against the bad teams, and in comes not a very good team in Cincinnati. That should be 2 out of 3, but then you've got the Dodgers for 3, and then the aforementioned Rockies. So you're going to be in a spot here over the next 20 games where you've got some good teams that you're going to have to start to compete with, or else you're going to find yourself still 6 games below in the middle of June.
No doubt. Jesse in San Jose, next up, Willard and Dibs. Hey, Jesse, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, man.
I think the dangerous part for this organization is, when your fan base becomes apathetic, right? Like, being upset is one thing. If the fan base starts not to care, that's when you've reached serious levels of trouble, right? And so I'm just speaking from experience, right? Like, my issue is I don't know what the identity is with this team or the organization. Like, what's their philosophy, right? They don't play small ball. They're dead last in stolen bases, but they don't hit the long ball either. Now, it looks like they tried addressing that during the offseason with signing Soler and Chapman. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. But the lack of activity is what really makes it hard to sit down and watch this team play for 9 innings, even though games are ending sooner than usual because of the rule changes. I can get up in the second inning, go make dinner, come back 40 minutes later, and nothing's happened, right? Like, that's what kills you. And the fact that, there's just no identity, that people are bringing up the World Series teams. You knew what their identity was. Yes, they were more talented. We know that. But you knew the identity was elite pitching, great defense, and they had guys that were just going to grind out at bats, and come postseason, they were clutch. You had the Scuderos, you had the Ishikawas. Like, none of these guys are Hall of Famers. I'm not even bringing up the Posies and the Sandovals, right? This team just lacks an approach. Like, I don't know what to expect. But you get a base runner on, he's not going anywhere. You know, like, there's just no excitement to sit down and watch this. Like, losing is losing. They're not very talented to begin with.
Well,
there's nothing going on.
Jesse, I think this is a really good call, and here's where I would take it. Thank you so much for calling. Those of you who want to really just kind of like, we're taking a temperature, Giants fans, because I am very early annoyed. I'm very early annoyed and want to know is like, am I just in a bad mood, or is this hitting you all the same way? 888-957-9570, you Giants fans, trying to take your temperature where you're at here on May 9th. This is what I see. Farhan goes out there and says, I want to see more aggressive at bats. Grandy, what was that stat the other day about, like, the Giants watch more fastballs in the strike zone than maybe any team in baseball? Something to that effect?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I kind of offhand said they swing at balls and they take strikes, but
Yeah,
I don't have a stat to back that up.
I think they take more strikes, like fastballs in the strike zone. They're right up there. They do that more than any team in baseball. And so Farhan goes out and goes, I really want to see the at-bats be more aggressive. He goes, we have a bunch of players who have a reputation for working the count.
Right.
And the book gets out on you, so they know you want to take a few pitches. So you huck a fastball right down the middle to start the at-bat. You're down 0-1, and immediately look at the metrics of when you're down 0-1. Your batting average is going to go down below 200.
Like 100 points, yeah.
Right away.
Yep.
And it's funny that Farhan is saying that. God, we got a bunch of guys who work the count. I wonder why that is. That's who you've been prioritizing for 4 years.
That's right. And that feels like the old regime, but it's got to come from somewhere.
You've been telling your hitters, work the zone. Don't swing at balls.
That's right.
Take a walk. Keep the line moving. And so these guys are conditioned to do so. And now your fan base is wavering, and you've decided you want beer league softball. You want the ball off the Coke bottle out there in left field. So let's sign Jorge Soler and let's get aggressive, everybody. Well, these guys are who they are. Lamont Wade, who, by the way, I mean, has been the best player on the team, but, like, dude works the count.
Yes.
What did he walk 3 times last night or something? Or was that the night before? Whatever it was. He works the count. And so you can't get mad at your guys for doing exactly what you've been coaching them to do.
For all these years that Farhan's been there. And yet, when you try to do that, and the caller was close, they're second to last in stolen bases, ahead of only Colorado.
Jeez.
You're 21st in baseball in walks drawn. You're 30th, or rather 29th in stolen bases, and you're below average in extra base hits and slugging. So, yeah, even if you get on base at a higher rate and you're not stealing bases to get that extra 90 feet that maybe a single can drive you in. You have very little team speed. You don't have a lot of pop, and you don't hit a lot of doubles and triples. So now you're a team that needs a walk and a couple of hits to just produce one run. And the other night, I guess that was Tuesday's game, is a perfect example where it was a dribbler, a chopper, and then a line drive, which led to your big breakout inning of 4 runs in the frame. It wasn't like Colorado today where they scored 7 runs on 11 pitches.
Dude.
Which was
hitting
lasers.
Seeds. They hit more seeds in the 4th inning than the Giants have hit in 2 weeks.
I was going to say on this whole trip, but...
Yeah. I'm not exaggerating.
Right.
Seeds.
Lasers.
Spencer in Lafayette. Hey, Spencer, what's up?
Yeah, I just kind of looking from across the bay, I very much feel what the previous caller was talking about a lack of identity. And I feel like the rotation for the Giants is definitely going to come around. There's just far too much talent there, especially at the top end, for that rotation not to come around. And that can take a little time. I feel like the team is very much like you've got people from all over the place that have been kind of put together. And I think it's just going to take a little time for them to congeal. But I get this sense, it's just talking about like how Giants fans feel, like as a devastated A's fan, they're going to obviously try to leave us. I hear my friends that are Giants fans, they're just like, I mean, we have your manager that used to be amazing, and your franchise basically hates you. Speaking of Giants fans, to me, your franchise basically hates you, can't fill the stands, is sending guys to the minors who are doing well for wearing bracelets. Oh. And hitting the ball all over the place.
Totally.
Scoring runs all over the place. Like it's almost accidental. So I think that's part of the frustration is, looking across the bay and looking at just a haphazard organization that, basically is just kind of doing it without trying. And I give all the credit to those kids that are out there doing it amidst all this, ridiculousness. But yeah, I feel like just give it time with the Giants. Your rotation is too good, not to come around. And I feel like there's a lot of parts and pieces that kind of have to congeal. But if they can focus on doing the little things, you get somebody on base, you move them over. Like just focus on doing the little things, play team baseball. The rest of it will come around.
Spencer, thanks. Yeah, listen, none of my frustration has anything to do with a give up. It has to do with urgency. And unfortunately, hitting a baseball is not something where you can give them an old one for the Gipper speech, and it's like, oh, all right, now we'll start hitting the ball.
The harder you try, sometimes the more you struggle.
They're trying their butts off, but you're running out of time already. The season's you're at the quarter pole.
It's getting late early, is what you're saying.
And I think that this roster, at least you're right, pitching and defense is what Hunter Pence always stresses that. That's how they won championships in this town. And they've got that. They do have enough defense. They do have enough pitching. But the hitting is so woeful that it's all going to be wasted. And his point about the A's is a fun one. They're third in baseball in home runs. What in God's name is happening to life?
Right.
I think I have some stats that may back up this Giants batting lack of urgency. Maybe we do that on the other side.
I like that.
Giants fourth in the league in errors committed, by the way, far as your pitching and defense goes.
How many games have they played? All of baseball. Where are we at? We're at about 40-ish?
Yeah.
The A's have 18 more home runs than the Giants. They're basically every 2 games they're out homering them by a full homer. What is happening? We're presented by Fremont Bank, full service.